Debbie, good evening and thanks indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
So we know that there are some barriers that some of these foreign execs face. We'll get to that in a moment. But what I do want to start with is these executives in the first world, what do they find compelling about South Africa in the first place? What makes the grass greener here?
Well, there is quite an extraordinary comparison between living a lifestyle in South Africa compared to, say, even in the US, certainly, living in San Francisco or Los Angeles. Your buck takes you a hell of a lot further in Cape Town or Johannesburg, that's for sure. And so this is information that's global information, and we've seen ongoing request, interest, intrigue about opportunities to pursue careers in South Africa for many years, in fact. More recently, with us setting up offices in California, that's definitely our doors being knocked on more and more frequently.
And I suppose just getting a lot of foreigners here would definitely help some way to improve the economy and get some stimulus on the side of the economy. But there are those that would say addressing transformation and employment should be our first priority here. Why can't we meet our critical skills list through empowerment?
So here's the thing. I don't think that those two priorities are, in fact, mutually exclusive. Absolutely. Transformation and diversity and redressing the imbalance of the past, we know that that's top priority agenda. Together with that, we have lots of data to support not just anecdotal information that we all have about the brain drain, but there's real data around that. And so we can focus on transformation and diversity, which all companies are doing, together with looking at how we can consider policy change so that international global executives can come into South Africa and work and contribute, not just capital investment, but resources, information, insights, intellectual capital. Those two things working alongside each other can really enhance our country.
You mentioned your office in the US. So just gathering from those that you've interacted with, has securing a work permit gotten easier? And I suppose now we've come to this area as to what keeps them from not setting up camp here.
Yeah, well, that's also nothing new. Gaining a work permit in South Africa, in fact, look, anywhere in the world, frankly, these days there's no open door policy, although some countries certainly are more welcoming than others. But securing a work permit in South Africa is a very, very arduous process. And the result of that is that even though companies are very willing and would be delighted to open their doors to international execs who can bring something new and fresh and really impact their companies and country, it just takes a really, really long time. And so it becomes, you could spend 9 months going through the paperwork, going backwards and forwards to Home Affairs, et cetera, and still not secure a work permit. And so this becomes something that companies are really not willing to do unless they're absolutely 100% sure that they might be lucky enough to secure a work permit.
One gets the feeling that perhaps those are greater barriers than the common ones we would assume keep people away, than like crime, for example.
Well, look, I think that there's certainly, I mean, the water crisis. Globally, everybody knows that the water crisis existed and exists to a degree. That didn't stop people from inquiring about opportunities in South Africa. Similarly, the economic situation, the political situation, I think that there's certainly a more favorable perception about how things are going from abroad, which is very good to see and experience. But then there's the insights that people have, particularly now that I'm based in the US at the moment. People are really curious. They're interested. They would love to have the opportunity to come and work in South Africa. It's not just an exotic place to go and work, but if you look at everything from schooling to weather, if you compare that to San Francisco, coming to Cape Town, for example, is just a no-brainer.
Oh, okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much indeed, Debbie Goodman-Byde, CEO of Jack Hammer there, talking to us from the US.